Alright. This is going to be a different kind of video. What I'm doing here is I'm going to show you the trailer for 6.5 and I'm going to break it down. Reason being, when 6.5 was released, it was broken. It was making games freeze and crash and you couldn't start a new game. It was terrible. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the trailer, break it down, just to get a little extra, and I'm also going to go behind the scenes to tell you how I go about making these trailers. So first of all, that, you know, Jake Allen presents. I've been doing this for every single one because, you know, it's Relics of Hyrule. I made it. The music, this music in the background, I'm gesturing as though you can see the music. The music in the background is from the 25th anniversary symphony. It's the Wind Waker Suite. And this area is Lost Sky Ruins, and of course that's the goddess sword. This is a 4th goddess statue. She has nothing in her bowl whatsoever. And then of course there's 3 whatever these things are, torch holders. I had the word and it disappeared. And then of course the goddess sword. And this is a special mesh that has the scabbard with it behind the pedestal. So when you pick this up, the scabbard comes with it. So the scabbard's on display as well. And the whole thing is tilted for a reason. When you go to Lost Sky Crater, you'll see the reason. I think, maybe. You might be able to guess the reason. So there's a few things there. First thing, the music, that is from the Swedish Radio Symphony Orchestra playing Dragonborn. The Dragonborn comes and the Song of the Dragonborn as a sort of mini medley. It's part of their. It was part of their video game suite thingy that they did. That's really specific. These are also, the pieces are linked to in the description of the original trailer. And I chose to have Nerevar Rising, which is the that's called Nerevar Rising. It's the theme, it's the Morrowind theme, but it's become the Elder Scrolls theme, but it originated in Morrowind, hence the name Nerevar Rising. I chose to use it for Crisis. This is Crisis, the wind-themed tower that debuted in 6.5. You can see it's all windmills. And Crisis is based on Skyloft from Skyward Sword. And pretty much every one of these buildings is traversable in one way or another. And this is a cloud bridge, so that is a solid cloud that you walk across. And there's the standard Armos, and you can barely see. There's a horizontal line right here. That is the staff of Windgemos. So unlike the other Rupture Towers that give you scrolls to summon and allies, this gives you a staff. Reason being, there's no railings here, so, you know, what if you summon your Windgemos in the wrong place? It falls off. So this is just a summon of Windgemos whenever you want. Chose Nerevar Rising because the way that the vocalist, it sounds very sort of like wondrous. So I'm like, here's a nice wondrous image of all these weird buildings floating in a cloudy, rainy void. And then it fades to, this is False God Passage. Whoop, go back. This is False God Passage. Go back. This is there's False God Passage using Raven Rock assets as sort of a Morrowind themed tunnel, which implies something about where Lost Sky Crater is. That is either the entrance to Lost Sky Crater itself or to the cult headquarters, which you'll find out more about when 6.5, well, in 6.5. Okay, so there's a few things there. First thing, this is Rage. You can see the banner for Rage. It uses the same thing as the Quake medallion. For some reason, you can see a dead Tektite over here. I think that's a dead Tektite. It's either a dead Tektite or a Gibdo. That's a Tektite. There's a chest here, a loot chest with a lore book in it. There's a tent, which implies something about this area. And you're starting to see what this building is. And it's meant to be a big reveal about what this building is in Rage. It's a building that has been suggested, and I could never find a good place for it. And then this corpse lying next to the Green Knight. So this character dressed all in green, and you can see a green boot there, you can see the robe, you can see the helmet, and they're carrying the goddess sword. All Dawnguard assets, except the cape. The cape was from Cloaks of Skyrim, retextured to be green. And then that is a dead Armos Aggressor, which is a new enemy for 6.5 that is aggressive Armos. And at some point here, it transitions from Nerevar Rising to the Legend of Zelda theme from, I believe it's one of the pieces from, it's Oath to Order. No, is it? I forget which it's from. I'll look at it. It's from Theophany's Theophany remixes of Majora's Mask music. So it's Time's End 2, the second volume. It's Healing Termina, that's where it's from. And had them go together, so it's Nerevar Rising coupled with the Legend of Zelda theme interplaying with each other, which is what Relics of Hyrule is all about. And then this is Asylum. You can see there's a banner there. This is essentially a forgotten ruptured tower. And by that I mean it's a ruptured tower without an interior, and there's parts missing that would normally make it a full-fledged dungeon. And on the other side of this is a bed, so this area is for resting. And this design is, I was testing what I would do in 6.7 for Sheikah Towers. This is just sort of a test of that, and I'll talk more about that a little later in this breakdown. This whole sequence here is when you pull this lever on the left, then Asylum activates. And this is what it looked like when it activates. And at this point, it's all the Legend of Zelda theme. And I made these shock things are actually flamethrowers that I've made, you know, like Dwemer flamethrowers. I've changed the spell to sparks. And then, once Asylum sits around for a while, here's Lost Sky Crater, and it's revealing glowy orb. If you've been to Kakariko Village, this glowy orb will be familiar. And then, that's important. You'll also notice we passed by a big hunky trunky dwarven ruin, and there's a snow elf ruin behind it. There's another ruin on the left side, and then there's also, you can see a dead Tektite. Oh, there's a dead sand crab here. So that's a new enemy, the sand crabs. There's a dead humanoid here. It's a cultist of the cult of Ganon. And then I believe this is a Tektite, or an ash hopper, because they coexist in Lost Sky Crater. But yeah, that orb is important and familiar in a lot of ways. And then it transitioned to Theophane's Oath to Order, as it's revealing okay, so let's go back, and I'm gonna mute it this time because this music's too epic. This, of course, it pulls back, and right when it does that big sort of drum roll and hits the highest note of the Oath to Order, it reveals that inside Rage is the Hyrule Castle. So Hyrule Castle was essentially buried in the Earth Tower. So this is the interior of Rage, and then you open up, there's two barracks on either side, you open those up and you go into the boss arena and you fight the boss. Then it cuts to, this is the Isle of the Deep. It's based on a mod called Isle of the Modern Dwemer Engineers, and I just repurposed it, retextured it. For the 6.5 repair, I had to rebuild it. This area is still there, but this mountainside is different. The trees are gone. It's slightly different, but it's all based on the work of the mod author who made Modern Dwemer Engineers and released it as a modder's resource. This is also part of the Ghost Ship. You can see some green mist. That's part of the Ghost Ship. That is how you can travel to islands like the Isle of the Deep. Skulltula hatchlings in Vitrianav, and this is showing the presence of Skulltula hatchlings, as well as the new traps that were added to Vitrianav. And this is the Dwemer portion of Lost Sky Crater. And then this is an Armos Aggressor and a dead Tektite. And up there is Faror's Wind marker, which is an interesting little thing I left in. And the Tektite is floating because the collision on this pillar is ridiculously dumb. And that was partially, when I first cut this trailer, I wanted the reveal of the Armos Aggressor to be part of it. So when you approach an Armos Aggressor or activate it, it'll explode and stagger you. But it didn't look right, so I didn't keep it in. There's a feature on the back of the helmet of the Green Knight that's a little interesting. If you look closely enough, you may be able to see a feature, and then they're holding, the Green Knight is holding the Shield of the Four Souls, or Shield of Four Souls, which is the shield from Four Swords Adventures, or Four Swords. There's two different versions of it. There's a red one and a blue one. I think the blue one is from Four Swords Adventures, and the red one is from Four Swords. It's based on the Outset shield, which I think is also in the trailer. One thing I don't like about this, I should have recorded this in slow motion. Oh, you can see the scabbard. Should have recorded this battle in slow motion, because it's a little fast for my taste and it doesn't look too great. But whatever. This is Comdelamar, the expansion of Comdelamar, and that is the chest that holds the Wind Waker. The Wind Waker's been moved, and this area is where it is. It's a Falmer ruin, or it's a Nordic ruin that has been infested by Falmer. And then this is the cult headquarters, and there's this altar, and a second moon pearl, but you can see that this moon pearl is a different color. You can see it's green, and that's important. This is Faror's pearl. So the one that you can get in 6.4, no, 6.2, since 6.2, the one that you can get, the red one, is going to be renamed Din's Pearl. This is Faror's pearl, and there's a Nehru's pearl that you'll be able to see eventually as well. And this area was built by the same person who made the modern Dwemer Engineers Island, and I kept it, sort of reworked it, and reattached it to Lost Sky Crater. And this area has some interesting lore to explore, and there's 6 very nice number of flames there. 6. Faror's pearl is actually suspended by 3 or 4 invisible collision planes, and when you activate it, then this whole big red thing disappears, and something else happens. This is part of the Isle of the Deep. It's one of the caverns that you can check out, and in this case I'm fighting a Dwarven Centurion. You can see the stone is actually customized. It's caves using Blackreach textures, which is something I've always wanted to do, but the person who made the Isle of the Deep actually did that themselves, so I'm using those assets there. But really, this whole area was built by them. I just turned the Centurion around. And the sword I'm using is the Thunderblade from Breath of the Wild. So this is one of the Breath of the Wild items in the mod as of 6.5. And then I'm using... Let's see if I can get it. There it is. There's Din's Pearl. Din's Pearl can also be changed into a shield in 6.5. So I'm using it as a shield here. Okay, so let's go back to this. Okay, so this shot is included for a few reasons. This is Spirit Island. I'm using the Sword of the Sages as a one-handed weapon, properly resized. And I'm also using the Goron shield here. You can see the Sword of the Sages scabbard. And then Miranda... That's the name of the character. She's the main character of the Relics of Hyrule series. She's wearing Fierce Deity's gauntlets, and she's wearing Zelda's armor. This is based on Royal Vampire armor, with a few changes. There's a triangle there, and this is sort of symbolic in a way, if you think about it. This was included to show off the Goron shield and Zelda's armor and the Sword of the Sages. And then this is a Minish dungeon. I think this is my favorite Minish dungeon. This is the one in Deepwood Redoubt. There are 3 in 6.5. And the way I made this was I made duplicate meshes that are 50 times larger than standard ones. So I have a candlestick here. There's a amulet hanging there, and then this greatsword is actually flat. It's actually perfectly horizontal, and the entire dungeon is tilted, but it looks like this is tilted as well. It's an optical illusion. It's a really great one. This is flat, but everything else is tilted. There's a giant potion, there's a giant bone, and then in this area of the screen you can see flying bugs. Those are pestos. They're based on Chaurus hunters. And then up here there's what looks like a Chaurus. Those are scissor beetles. And then this is a Draugr that's fighting them. And then this letter is found in Lost Sky Crater. It's found in the Necromancer, or no, the cult headquarters. It's written by Latimer's sister, and of course Latimer, brother of mine, reference to Family of Blood, which is where Latimer's name comes from, and it's talking about the lore of the Hylian vampires and how Latimer's sister thinks that Zelda intentionally sent Latimer and all these other vampires to the shrine to deliberately preserve them as immortals, which may or may not be true. It's there. This is here to sort of throw a wrench into the lore and sort of make you think. This is not how the letter will read in 6.5. It's a little different. I changed it a little since I made the trailer. So let's move on. And I am carrying a scissor beetle chitin bow, which I think turned out really well. The scissor beetle chitin weapons turned out pretty good, but I think the bow is the best one. I'm on top of Dragon Roost Island fighting a wind dragon that you just saw it shoot a cyclone. I'm also using Armos arrows, and I got knocked there, and when I was making this, I had to go frame by frame because there's a point where my head goes through the ground here, so I had to cut that out because I didn't like it. When I do get thrown to the ground, you can see there's rupees on the ground, as well as a gold... Oh, you can see the chest there. Let's let Dragon know. There's the chest, and then there's also rupees there, there's gold blocks, there's gold coins. So Dragon Roost Island was designed as a true dragon horde. The dragon that I'm fighting is called the Shade of Levius. So it's the last dragon that was mentioned in the lore, but you've never found it. So Levius essentially went into hiding and is on Dragon Roost Island. And then this is the interior of the Isle of the Deep. This is the Deep Cavern. Also, exactly the way that the original author designed it. I just changed a few minor things. I think those I changed, the grates there. There used to be a mill here. I removed a lot of stuff, but left most of the land mass intact. And then this shot is also important. This is in the cult headquarters, and this is actually Latimer's sister. Her name is Vivian. And then you can see I'm wearing the Rock's cape right there, and the Fierce Deity's armor, but also Majora's Mask. And if you look really closely, I'm carrying the Master Sword. You can sort of see there's a redead right there. You can see the Master Sword's handle. Handle. Yeah. You can see the Master Sword here in my left hand. You can see the wing at Vivian's neck, and then you can see the blade. But if you look really closely, go back. If you look really closely, so there's the true Master Sword using the Link to the Past golden aesthetic. And you can see pretty clearly that I'm wearing Majora's Mask and a Fierce Deity's armor, which is an interesting combination, to say the least. But you can see in my right hand there's one Master Sword, and then I'm carrying another in my left. This is a false Master Sword, which will come back later in the trailer. But yeah, so I'm dual wielding Master Swords. One is a false Master Sword, and one is a true Master Sword. And then this... Okay. This part, so this, and that was a decapitation kill move, but I cut it right before I knocked her block off. This is the boss arena for Crisis, and this is the boss of Crisis. The main reason why I included this shot in the trailer was to make sure that people knew that this thing was intentionally invisible. It's a remodeled Dragon Priest, an invisible Dragon Priest. So it's one thing, it's a cool image to see this mist sort of fly up like that, but also so people knew that it wasn't a mistake. I'm still gonna get people commenting that the Breath of Vati is invisible, and that's intentional, absolutely intentional. This is Spirit Island, and this is also from Wind Waker Symphonic Movement. There's the ghost ship again. Pretty much everything during the playing of the Wind Waker theme is all the islands. There's a total of 6 islands. I don't show all of them, but this shows a few of them. So that's Spirit Island. And then the Oath to Order is closing out with those really nice deep vocals, and then the Wind Waker theme comes in. But that sort of was from the Oath to Order, and I kept that in as an interesting little transition piece for this. And to sort of, like, the Wind Waker theme is all jaunty, but having that bending note it makes it a little suspicious and, like, unsettling in a way. This is the Isle of the Damned. There's the ghost ship, and every time you dock the ghost ship, you'll have a platform that you'll be able to use to get onto other things. The Isle of the Damned has a bunch of shipwrecks and corpses, and then this is the entrance to the interior. And the Isle of the Damned is going to be important in 6.6, I believe. The Vivian's letter. Where is it? I'm gonna find Vivian's letter. I think it mentions. Yeah, I hope you'll help me track down their leader. So, that is going to come to pass in 6.6. The leader of the cult has disappeared, and he reappears in 6.6, because I can't be bothered to put him in 6.5. Okay, so that is Isle of the Damned. This is the Islet of Steel, and you can see it resembles Asylum. Asylum came first, and I made the Islet of Steel as another practice for 6.7. This is Dragon Roost Island, and here you can see it really clearly. There's a Imperial chunk of rock. That is the door that leads out to the Dragon Horde. That is the chest that we saw when I was falling all around. That is the Shade of Levius sort of resting. And this is unique because this is technically an interior cell, so the Shade of Levius will just fly through things, and it's a very weird dynamic. You can see a bit of stone right there. So Dragon Roost Island is essentially an Imperial tower that is frozen and has been taken over by a ghost dragon. So let's break down the rest of that. The Dragon Roost, and then here. So this is the Isle of Ruins. It was the first island I ever made for this. You can see the ghost ship, and the ghost ship is actually two pieces of a shipwreck put together into a full ship, so that's why there's this seam there. And that was intentional. As soon as Zelda's Lullaby starts in, as soon as it starts in, this is Din's Shrine. So it goes, and then so it shows Faror's Shrine, and it shows Nehru's Shrine, and this is Nehru's Pearl. Nehru's Shrine is in the Isle of Ruins. So this one is the only one that you can't access yet. You can find Faror's Shrine and Din's Shrine, but not Nehru's Shrine. Nehru's Shrine is accessible in 6.5. You can find Din and Faror in 6.49. And of course, Nehru is frozen, but I deliberately placed some icicles on her face to make it look like she's crying and her tears have frozen. And of course, this is Kino Langdon-Zell, which you may or may not recognize. And the ghost ship has docked at Kino Langdon-Zell. There's a block of time serving as a bridge from the spiral staircase of Kino Langdon-Zell to the ghost ship itself. Originally, the ghost ship was behind Kino Langdon-Zell, but there's a invisible wall that stretches all the way past it, so I put it on the side and gave it blocks of time to be really mysterious and cool and awesome, and obviously telling you that this is an important item that was essentially sent to you by the goddesses, mainly Faror, because once you get Faror's Pearl, this will appear. And I put it at Kino Langdon-Zell and Itnamzan, and the only hint you get is that it's waiting for you at a dwarven ruin on the sea. So this that's essentially Link's theme, which is why the False Master Sword, this is a False Master Sword, in Falkreath, which is where all the False Master Swords are. That's why I put this music over this. And this sort of jaggedy zooming is not intentional. It's really hard to get Skyrim to zoom at the right speed. You can only do so much. see it hangs there for a little bit. And then there's that cymbal crash, and I cut, and Relics of Hyrule, Winds of a Silent Sea. So basically, there's only a few bits of text. There's J. Calendar Presents, and Winds of a Silent Sea. So it's J. Calendar Presents Relics of Hyrule, Winds of a Silent Sea.